Welcome to Village in Motion. Today is a sunny Tuesday, October 30th, 2018, and I'm here this morning with our three resident services coordinators. I'm trying to get that term in my mind, but I do understand it. And I understand it because I went to the Ancillary Health Forum the other day, and it all made sense to me that you are our guides through all of the resident services that we have available. And one of those services being social work, which is the term that we more normally use. But we're here this morning to talk about the topic of friendship. And you're nodding your heads very sagely. So let's talk about friendship. We come to Green Spring, and many of us come here to Green Spring, some from many, many miles away, some of us from just a few miles away, but all of us pretty much have one thing in common. We come in the door here and we know no one. And we think, oh, we've come here, we're here in this strange land, and maybe some people know one or two people before they've come here. Most people know no one. How do we start? How do we find a friend?
Well,
Sue?
I'd like to sort of start out.
I'm sorry, I didn't introduce you. Sue Franke, Elena Keydel, and Stephanie Rheinheimer. I'm so sorry.
Good morning. As we were preparing for the show, it was interesting to look at how the benefits of friendship. So just even thinking about why it's so important to have friends as we age, and there have been a number of studies that have been done fairly recently that have shown the benefits to our physical well-being, so in terms of keeping our blood pressure regulated, to keeping ourselves healthy, reducing the risk of colds, and then also the benefits really to our cognition, keeping our brains healthy. So friendships, and the reason that we're here today and talking about friendships is just because they are so important to our whole well-being, our whole psychosocial development.
So it's important,
as we age.
when I move in here to Green Spring, it's important for me to find some friends, to make some new friends.
It is in a lot of different ways, and just really because we as human beings, our whole makeup is social. We are social animals, and our brains are wired to be social as well, for social activity, so it really makes it so that we thrive. Even if we don't think that that's something that's important to us, it has been proven that those that feel some connection in terms of a friendship feel more at ease and are thriving as they age.
One of the interesting pieces in some of the articles that we read here talked about, and one of them said that it's just as important to have friends who are not family members as it is to have family members in our realm. Tell us about that, Stephanie.
Well, even what I thought was interesting in the article of the studies, it almost even gave more weight to those friendships than family. So we have a lot of...
We won't tell our family members.
we won't tell them. But in all reality, I know I have a lot of residents who maybe they were never married or they're widowed, family is not close by, and kind of the underlying point of the articles where, yes, family is important and they can do different things that maybe friends wouldn't feel as comfortable, but friends are just as important. They can be a surrogate family member and the benefits are just as good in terms of being there, through recovery from illnesses, the socialization and things like that. So.
And I think they're also, friends tend to be more on a day-to-day basis. Most of us see our families, maybe a couple times a month or something like that, whereas you have lunch with your friends every day, you have dinner, play cards with them, even just seeing them in the hallways kind of thing, and it's sort of that ongoing stimulation, that ongoing engagement that you might not have with family members. I
knew some people a number of years ago in a retirement community who moved out of the retirement community and moved back to an area where they had a son and daughter and grandchildren, thinking, well, we really want to be near the family. And within about 6 months, they moved back.
Right.
They discovered that the family was busy. They really didn't have time for them. They didn't see them any more than they'd seen them when they lived hundreds of miles away in Florida, and they came back to Florida where they had a much more active social group and stayed there and realized that that what they really missed was the friends with whom they had much more frequent contact than seeing their family once every couple of weeks.
Exactly, yeah.
Which was very interesting. And you mentioned about recovering from illness, of having someone that you could reach out to, which is a very important piece of it.
Yeah, and even just like here, I know, we have a lot of residents that will be recovering and their neighbors will pick up dinner,
Yes.
And so you drop off dinner and it's a, 5-minute conversation. It doesn't need to be an hour of anything. It can just be a, but just first of all, providing the food, just that physical need, but also just that little bit of engagement and
just saying something to say hello.
And the care.
And the care.
Knowing somebody that cares and will stop by just to say hi or to ask how you're doing. So I think that's an important
or knowing
piece
that
of
someone
it.
cares every day. If you go to a group meeting and someone's missing, knowing that someone is going to say, hey, where is she today?
Yes, and maybe
let's give her a call.
follow up. Yeah.
Yes. So let's back up to my original question. I'm new here. How can I meet some new people?
That is a good question, and I think it's something to start out with. For new residents, they get the tag on their badge that says they are new residents, which identifies them
That green tag.
to more established residents that they are new, and there may be some struggles in terms of their acclimation and where things are and what time things happen. So I think, as residents, it takes a couple of weeks to get situated, but after that period of time, it's looking at where your interests lie here at Green Spring. Many residents come in with outside interests that they've pursued elsewhere or maybe even in the past, but haven't had time because of the upkeep of the house or other issues. So it's what do we have here that is of interest? Looking at the bulletin board or the scroll on Channel 6 or the monthly calendar of everything that's going on.
Or the Community Resources Handbook that lists all of the activities that are here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's starting out with that.
I always recommend to new residents that if I'm greeting someone as one of the Green Spring Greeters group, that they wear that name tag with the green new resident tag on it for at least a month. Because that way other people will see them and say, oh, I see you're new, welcome, can I help you find something? And it just allows other people to reach out to them.
Sure. I think even wearing it 3 or 4 months. Anybody
That's
who's
good.
moved or moved into Green Spring knows it takes you a month just to get in and get unpacked and get oriented. And most people don't necessarily start looking at those groups until 3 or 4 weeks in. They're still trying to find their way to the dining hall.
And I've told people not to be. A couple of people have said, "Oh, I don't want to advertise it." I say, "No, it's a good thing to wear it."
Yeah.
And I think first when you come, one of the important things is to go to the dining rooms.
Yes.
Definitely.
Maybe try a little bit of each of them or the one that's in your community building, but the dining room is a really good way to connect with a lot of different residents.
And that's the one that I think is maybe the hardest for someone who doesn't have a spouse, that it's hard to go on your own.
Yes.
And it's hard to go and sit down with a table full of strangers if you're not used to doing that. That can be very difficult, but you kind of have to get your nerve up and just say, hello, how are you? My name is Susan, I'm new here, and just, you're going to find yourself with a friendly group of people who are going to welcome you.
Yes.
That's one of the great things about the Green Spring residents is, they are so welcoming and they know to be on the lookout for somebody with that green badge.
Yes.
And welcome them in and, say, oh, come sit with us at our table and, make them feel welcome.
Yes,
which is
right.
really wonderful.
And not everybody's going to turn out to be a friend.
Right.
Yeah, and that is the other thing is, the first people you meet are not necessarily going to be your best friends for life.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Of course not.
Right. Yeah.
It's like any place in the community, and not every activity is going to be the right one for you.
Right.
We're all going to try activities and go, okay, that seems like a good idea, maybe not the right place for me. That's happened in all of our lives. But as we talk about friendship and we're leaving our old community and coming here, we're not saying, remember that song that we learned in Girl Scouts? Did you all learn that? Make new friends but keep the old, one is silver and the other gold. We also want to say keep your friendships that you had for life.
Absolutely.
Those are
Sure.
important too.
Yeah.
And I think that's the benefit of technology today.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
I think technology with Facebook, with telephone, being that you don't, if somebody lives miles away, it's not a toll call anymore.
Yes.
You can just pick up the phone and call, even overseas.
Yes.
So it becomes much easier to connect, email, texting. So using the technology that we have, and if you're a little fearful of using some of that technology, we do have residents here that are more than happy to help
Yes.
in terms of helping you figure out how to use it.
Yes.
And have that patience to
whether
be
it's,
able
whether
to.
it's a computer, whether it's an iPad, whether it's one of the smartphones. If you don't know how to use it, we have people who can help you.
And I read one recommendation in terms of somebody getting a new smartphone. Get a smartphone that's similar to somebody that you know can help you. So if you have a family member or a friend that you know you're going to rely on to help you with your smartphone, get one just like theirs.
Yes.
So that the two of you can compare notes.
That's good advice.
And, yeah, I thought so
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
So that when you're having difficulty with your phone, you can say, so what do you do on yours?
And don't be afraid to ask.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with various people here relative to computers, and I don't have a smartphone, but relative to computers. And the one thing that I tell them is that you think this looks easy for me to do this, and it's only easy for me because I've done it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, learning to work these things. And the same thing with telephones. If we brought someone in who had never worked a telephone ever and had never seen one, it would be difficult for them too. For us, just punching the numbers is easy because we've done it all of our lives. But so if you're learning to work one of these new gadgets, keep trying, keep working with it, and you can do it. Don't get out of touch with your friends that don't live here.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even if you're not comfortable using the technology, I mean, telephones.
Pick up the telephone.
I was visiting my grandmother one time, and she got a phone call from a longtime friend of her and my grandfather, and out of the blue, and it brightened her whole week.
Oh, that's
I mean,
wonderful.
it was amazing. Just this, 20-minute phone call she
That's
had with this
wonderful.
long-term friend. And
I remember my grandmother back. Well, she lived on a farm out in the country, and she would way back in the days of multi-line people on a phone. She would visit with her high school friends and did that up until she died in the 90s. But that was her lifeline to the world. That she just she would talk with these friends for I won't say hours at a time, but for a long time. But that was her lifeline because she didn't ever get out much.
yeah.
And that's so important to do.
And I think if you are still able to travel and go see some of those lifetime friends, and that's how they stay lifetime friends.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reconnect
Go
with them
spend
if
the
you
weekend
can.
with them. Yeah.
Yes.
But I think for new residents moving in, one of the difficulties is that you expect to be able to make friends quickly.
Yes.
And so I think it's recognizing that friendships come, it's a process.
That's very good advice, Sue.
And so it may be a period of time before you really do connect and feel like somebody is a friend. So knowing and having that patience to just work it out.
There's a difference between acquaintances and friendships.
And I think some of the new residents feel that they're going to come in and make friends right away, and so that's that disappointment that they haven't connected immediately.
That's very good advice.
So
we forget how long it took us to develop our other friendships.
Right, yeah. So
Maybe-
knowing that coming into a new community, it does take time.
Yes.
And that finding common threads within
Right.
within your life with other
Right.
residents definitely helps. But then sort of that feeling of bonding.
Right. And
might-
sometimes working with people on something, like maybe working with someone on a theater production, or working in one of the various groups doing something here on campus is a good way to bond with people and getting to know them better, and remembering that it's not all about you, and learning about their lives and their families, and that's how friendships develop.
Yeah.
How you do that.
And you spoke about having friends with different activities. So, you know, you may have your quilting friends and your theater friends and
Right.
your dinner friends, and that's okay. You don't.
And I could talk to a quilting friend about something related to my love of costuming for the theater, and that person would be bored to death and not have a clue what I'm talking about.
Or
and
they
vice
would
versa.
be interested because they're interested in what you're doing, and they may not understand it, but
And they would be polite, is what you're
they
saying.
or I mean, I definitely have friends that I have absolutely no clue what they're talking about, but I love listening to them talk about it because they get so excited by it, and you know, I learned something about it, and you know,
That's a very nice
I have
way to
friends
put
who are
it.
geologists that can go on for hours about rocks, and they lose me after about 10 minutes. But for those 10 minutes, it's really interesting.
really
You know.
But I think that brings up a good point too, is to develop a friendship, it takes asking questions and takes that active listening of sometimes just being where they are.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so I think that really
And
can
enjoying that.
is a good way, yes, to
Yes.
develop a friendship, because then you can listen to what they're all about, and get, when you ask questions, it gets other people to feel like you do have interest in what they're
Right.
talking about.
And
too.
I think as we're trying to make friends, we forget that friendship is two-sided. You know, it can't be
Yes.
all about you.
Yes.
It's got to be about the other person too,
Right.
or else it doesn't work.
Yeah. Very good point. So, as you're sharing, as you're pulling things from other people, what kinds of questions would you ask? Let's put ourselves as a new person, and we're sitting down in one of the dining rooms, and what kinds of questions would you ask of the people there?
Just as you're making new friends,
As
you
you're
mean?
making new friends.
I mean, there's always the first couple questions of just getting to know, you know, what their interests are, what their family is like, where they came from. The basics, I think, are things that you typically go through until you find someone who you have an interest of learning more in.
Yeah. Yeah, what they did with, you know, for a living. Did they travel? Did they, you know, can you find commonalities there? What do they like to do? What, you know, and I think even framing that as, you know, I'm new, I'm so overwhelmed by all the groups here. There's so much to do. What are some of your favorite groups? You know, and if they name something you're interested in, there's a connection.
Right.
You know? And if not, you've learned about some of the groups here.
That's true. That's true. Yes, right. Now, let's talk about you three. Do you have people that you say are your best friends in the entire world?
I have a best friend that I've had since I was about 6 months old.
Okay.
And she lives about an hour away from where I do, so we can't connect physically very often. She's busy, I'm busy, but we do every once in a while connect at lunch. She'll come and pick me up here, and we'll go to lunch and spend an hour and a half just talking about how things have been going, what we've been doing, and it's a really nice way to connect periodically with somebody that I've known my entire life.
So and there's the health point of that friendship. That's a very healthy thing for the two of you. It's completely outside of your jobs, outside of work, outside of family.
It is.
That there's that friendship that you two have.
And we have the connection of music. She too is a musician, so we have that connection. But we've known each other, so when we meet, even if it's been 6 months, we pick up right from where we left off. But then we come back to technology because we keep up with each other on Facebook and some of the other ways that you can follow one's life sort of from afar and know what's going on, so that you can keep connected in that way too.
Technology makes a wonderful difference in terms of keeping. I have reconnected with some friends that I would otherwise have had a once-a-year Christmas card from.
Yes.
That I wouldn't have otherwise. How about you, Elena? Do you have a best friend?
I have a couple actually, but again, they are at a distance, and so you know I see them a couple times a year. And I actually was on vacation this past weekend with two of my best friends that you know I see twice a year, and we got together and we were in Nashville and just had a great weekend together, catching up and connecting, and you know, so we find that connection. We have a lot of music connections.
A lot of music.
Not playing. We like we listen. We don't play. But we heard some great music this weekend. You know, but again, it's that we can pick up right where we left off, and you know, we talk over text messages and emails in between.
So as we talk to other residents here, as we talk to them, we want to say, don't be upset that you don't live near the friends that you've always had. keep those friendships, make new friends, but keep the old.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Keep up with them.
And recognize the importance of acquaintances. I mean, I remember at one point in my life, I realized I had wonderful friends. I have amazing, really, really good friends. I didn't have anybody to go to the movies with on Friday night because my friends were in New York and Michigan and Houston and Florida, and you know, they love me dearly, but they're not going to come go to the movies with
Of
me.
course.
So, you know, I really made an effort to get involved with groups in the area and get
Right.
to know people, so that way I would have
Right.
local friends
Yes.
that I could see on a more regular basis.
Right. And we do move for careers, we move for family, and
Absolutely.
especially here at Green Spring, we have a lot of people who have moved here to Green Spring, and the only people they know are their son or daughter or someone here nearby that they moved, but in terms of seeing that person any more than maybe once every couple of weeks, that doesn't happen.
Right.
So they feel much lonelier than those of us who have been here in the area for a while.
Yeah.
Because they don't, you know, they walk out the door, drive off campus, and they might as well be in Timbuktu. They don't have a clue, so they really need to reach out more. How about you, Stephanie?
I do too. I'm like Elena, I've got a couple. One thing I think for me, and that some of the articles mention, is the impact that friendship can have on helping with stress reduction. And I have a particular lifelong friend who recently moved to Florida, but she is a friend of mine who, whenever I just feel a little bit stressed or overwhelmed, I just give her a quick call, we talk through it, and just it feels like it's lifted.
Good.
So I do too, and certainly feel the positive benefits
That's
of
a really
it.
important piece, that we do have someone that we can kind of vent to.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, right. One of the staff members came in here to the TV station this morning frustrated about something, just needed to vent. And we all need to have a friend with whom we can do that.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes we keep it all inside, and especially if we're living here in an apartment, especially for those who live alone, everything can kind of get all balled up inside us, and we get a little bit stressed, and sometimes a lot stressed, and sometimes we need someone that's just a friend to be able to say, okay, I'm really a little upset about this.
Sure.
Can you listen?
Sure.
Yeah, and that's important. We have a few minutes left. What else did we find in this reading?
Well,
I'll have to admit, I read it 2 days ago.
The one thing I wanted to just put out there,
Yes.
as we have all three of the resident services coordinators sitting here, is that for residents, if they're finding it difficult, if it's a struggle, or if they just want some ideas about how to connect, please stop by one of our offices, give us a call. We can sort of help brainstorm, we can help figure out different ways for residents to be able to connect, maybe look at some of the relationships they have, and just help in terms of figuring new ways. So I think that not only is the community such a really good resource because we have so many residents and different activities and ways to connect.
And
but
you know them all, you can guide us to what will be good for us.
We have the social work team here, the resident services coordinators, to be able to help residents navigate that vastness of resources that we have
I
here.
told Elena the other night that as I was at that ancillary health forum, there was a light bulb that went off, and I finally understood the value of the title resident services coordinators, and that is that you can guide us through all of these many things that are here.
To help coordinate the services
Yes,
that
right.
we have, because it's a large community.
Yes.
And there are many activities and resources, and from the medical center to the fitness center.
Yes.
So there's just so many resources. But that can be intimidating.
Yes.
So what do I do?
Yeah. And you can suggest many things. Right.
And also just listen. I mean, the stress of moving in, the stress
Huge.
of meeting new people.
Yeah.
Sometimes
A lot of
you
people
just,
haven't moved for a long time.
Yeah, you just need somebody to listen.
Right.
And
I'm a military wife. I've moved 1,000 times. I think movies is great fun, but not everybody thinks moving's a good hobby.
Yeah, I think you're crazy.
There you go.
But especially those people that don't have friends, here, or friends are at a distance and maybe a little bit harder to connect
Right.
with. Just having somebody to listen and just kind of talk through.
Yes.
Well,
it can go a long way.
To Sue's point too, it's not our first rodeo. We've helped many
Right.
people through it, and so just the validation of the fact that what they're experiencing is something that most people go through, and normalizing that it is tough. And
is there
good
kind of an
point.
age piece too, that people who are at an older age think that, oh, well, we're supposed to know all of this stuff, and I don't want to appear that here I am at my age and going to a younger person and asking her, am I going to appear stupid if I ask her this? Is there kind of a piece of that they don't want to go and ask someone?
I don't know.
I hope not.
I don't know.
I
I'm thinking that could be
Yeah.
a piece of it.
And I would encourage, if someone does feel that way, again, going back to the confidentiality,
Yeah.
everything that is said in our offices is kept there in the office.
Oh, of course.
And it's the idea that no question is too.
There's no such thing as a silly question.
A silly
Yeah.
question, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that it's what you're feeling, it's what's going on with you.
Yeah.
And so how to work through that.
But I do think that some people think that, well, I'm the grown-up and I'm the mother or I'm the father, and I'm not supposed to have to, I'm supposed to know everything. I shouldn't have to ask
And
questions.
it's interesting, now that my mother is here too, I've been through it on a different level too, and it's so
You see it
it's very
differently.
interesting to
It
see
is.
see that side of it as well.
Right, yes. We're out of time. Do you have one last thing you want to say?
Develop those friendships. They're really important.
Okay.
And I think, for all of us, it's recognizing for us too that friends are important.
Okay, good. Thank you for coming, ladies.
Thank you.
Always
Thank
good
you,
to see
Susan.
you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.